trial if you just use
Yeah, no, literally all I needed to do was refresh my browser for the plan to unpause because I had paused StreamYard for a bit because I wasn't doing much podcasting, but the bills kept racking up. So we are live at the moment, streaming this on Twitter, Twitter only, really. So it's still kind of a space. I guess it's still like the original idea that we had, just not specifically on Twitter. But yeah, welcome everyone who is here. Welcome everyone who is watching. Um, not sure who all is watching, but that doesn't matter. I have to get back into it. I just came home from work, so I have to get into podcaster mode, if you will.
put on your other face. You got two of them. Janus did.
Yeah, yeah, good one. Yeah, one looking back, one looking forth, which is the topic of this, well, stream of this show. Since it is January and we just got into the new year, I thought it'd be very appropriate, and also with all the stuff that has happened and that seems to happen with the Mandela effect, or the jumping of timelines and all. I just thought portals and Janus would be a very appropriate topic to discuss. And I see that Jin the Ninja has joined us. What up, dude?
Hey Stein, how are you doing? Thanks for having me. Stop it. Sorry about that.
It's all the dog. I'm telling you, it's all the dogs. It's not just
They
you.
must be picking up on it because mine did the same just not even 5 minutes ago.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. Thanks for having me, Stein.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah,
welcome. I
I
guess
love
the
to.
dogs are
Greyhorns is
happy
kind of
too.
my spiritual home. It was the second show I ever did ever, so it's pretty cool to like come back on.
Yeah. Oh man, we've done two so far, and it's been absolutely awesome. But yeah, like, to be honest, I know very little about Janus, or the god that is called Janus. I know that it's a Roman god. I know that it has two faces, one looking into the past, one looking forward into the future. I know that our name of January is named after it. That's really all I know. So this stream will be as enlightening for me as I hope it is for everyone else.
Well, you know more about it than I do, darling.
Well, I mean, if like, with my limited knowledge is even more than you, that's promising. Um, so who wants to kick it off, take the ball and run with it?
I'll go first. So Janus is a very, very interesting character in Roman mythology. He's not in any kind of mythology, but he's central to all of it. So the Temple of Janus would always have its doors remain open unless there was a war, and then they would close them. All right. Now, Janus and the doorway is so vitally important to understand. It's like all of the portals from one space to the next. He's the god of that. It's all the liminal spaces. So there are Janus sculptures to this day in the Vatican, right? All over it, because Peter, Peter the apostle Peter, is supposed to be at the gates of heaven, guarding the gates of heaven. Peter the Rock, right? Which is
Yeah.
also a very Janus thing to do. So they kept Janus, just didn't like to talk about too much how they kept him in their kind of covert pantheon all over the place. They keep him as Peter. And basically, before every festival, every single time, they had to go to Janus first because Janus is also the holder of the keys, very Hecate-like. So if you would have a festival, the first thing you would do is go to Janus. If you would have any sort of thing, this is like the prerequisite. This is the opening of the doorway. This is also where we get the term janitor. A janitor is a person who holds all the keys to the building.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
just
that
going
comes
to
from
say,
Janus. That makes sense.
and I was just going to say, Atlas, it's funny because in Italian, for example, or in Spanish, we'll say a saying like, sei come Pietro che c'hai le chiavi del cielo, which means, you have you have the keys to the heavens. It was an ironic and kind of a funny saying, right? So when you're mentioning these keys, it's all about the keys to these portals, if you will.
Right. So any liminal space, right? So when a boy becomes a man, that would be a Janus thing. Anytime you would be entering a building, if a invasion is happening and it's successful, that would be the period, before, during and since. All the things separated by that kind of thing would be Janus related. Now you can understand that puts this sort of obscure god at the center of everything, right? Absolutely everything he would be at the center of, because anything that exists, you have to travel over a gateway to get to, right? So any kind of a portal, there's Janus. And there's a researcher called What the Flock TV who is obsessed with it. And he talks about Janus, because as we know, the J is sort of a later invention, and Janus or Ian sort of kind of goes into Jesus as well. And so, what is Jesus always talking about? I stand at the door and knock. All these Janus symbolism is always in that Jesus as well. So, you find a lot of Janus and Jesus. And that is something that a lot of Christian type folks are not comfortable with. They're not talking about Janus. Nobody's talking about Janus. We've stopped talking about him, but he's still there. He's still in all the different little fields of study there. And so once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. Kind of like those faces.
Yeah. So, like the two faces like that also, and being Roman and all, it really reminds me of the double-headed eagle that you see a lot. Like, do you know, or does any of you know, if there's like a connection to that? Because like that's the seal of, well, the or the symbol of the Imperium. Like eagles are, and especially the double-headed eagle is being used to this day. Exactly. Logan, what's up? Thank you for joining.
Well, I think the imperial double-headed eagle.
My bad. I just wanted to give a slight introduction for everybody who doesn't know. Hi, my name's Queen of Blades, Logan, the Mad Philosopher, the Eternal Empire, whatever. I've got my many monikers. I am your local madman, energy psychic vampire for this evening. So how am I entertained this evening?
Hey, Logan.
Yeah, he's a madman, all right, but he's one of the good ones. But sorry, the double-headed eagle, Janus, Roman Empire.
The double-headed eagle, it's sort of, they say, ruling in peace as well as war. Well, as you know, the Janus temple was all about opening and closing when there were times of peace and times of war. So I would not find it a stretch at all to put Janus on that double-headed eagle. It's also where Italy sits, right? So where Italy sits, you've got a vast amount of space to the west, and you've got an even more vast amount of space to the east, right? And the double-headed eagle is the indicator of how far they want to spread their wings across this, huge Eurasian continent. So having the double-headed eagle as a symbol of Imperium would totally be Janus. They had the Barbars to the east and the Tartars to the west, or the vice versa, right? And so the idea there is that we will dominate all of this stuff. And that's why the double-headed eagle is so important. Again, They talk about war and peace. They always talk about these dichotomies, right? Because these are the dichotomies that they want to put on people, right? They want you to be the one thinking about war and peace. They're never the ones thinking about war and peace. They're just sort of doing it, right? It's already been planned out. They want you to stress out about these things. They want you to be thinking about these things. They've got a plan. They're going to keep going forward with it.
I'll just jump in here and add a little conceptual layer on top of that and say that, in my opinion, the double-headed eagle really arises at the Kabbalah tree on Tippereth. So it really is the synthesis between war and mercy, chesed and gevurah. So, and there's also a secret meaning, which is that the eagle should have a third head, a pointed upward head, sort of like a fleur-de-lis.
Yeah.
So, right, so he breathes the either towards the Father, towards God. Now, some people place Jupiter as the crown at Kether. This is something that I'm personally exploring in my own series. So I'm just will offer that, but I think that there is a conceptual layer that is not just historical materialist, and it isn't just about this I do believe in managed dialectics. Brzezinski spoke a lot about it, and I think that it's very relevant. But I also think that the dualism is more their thing, and we should move more away from the dualism, because I think in the layers of meaning, and just like there are 5 layers of meaning in each sephira, and 7 layers in Tantra, and 9 layers in Buddhism, and 11 layers in the tree, I think there are multiple layers, and I think that the dualistic layer is the superficial layer, like the planetary layer. And so we should move away from that kind of conceptualization. That's just where I'm at.
That makes a lot of sense. Go ahead.
And
Oh yeah. Oh, my bad. I'll be quiet. I'll hold on.
so I wanted to ask you this, and this is also for the audience, because I'm very big on the symbolism. So we observe some of these in most of the royal flags. As you know, we tend to see this eagle, right? Even within the German cross, we see the double eagle. I believe it was also the Albanian flag, right? You see this double eagle. So let's talk about that, because I think that just we see these symbols all the time, especially even here in the United States, and then nobody really questions why the double eagle.
It's I've even wrote like a little part of it in my my book, the Pagan Revival. It's oh god, what was it again? I mean, it really has to do with empires, and even the like on top of the Yggdrasil, the life tree in Norse mythology, there are eagles. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I mean, they're residents sitting way way on top, constantly flapping his wings to creating windstorms that rip the branches of the Yggdrasil apart. Like America, the Atlantean Empire, pretty much has adopted the eagle. The Romans before them, the Byzantine Empire,
There's also the Thunderbird in Native American too, darling.
yeah, well, you know more about that. I mean, if you want to share about that, because
I don't know much about the Thunderbird. I'm going to be completely honest. I know the Thunderbird is like a phoenix, eagle, hawk. It depends on which tribe you follow and which one you belong to. Like with me with Cherokee, I'm still learning about my heritage, so I'm not well versed, darling. Sorry.
Well, there is the idea of duality within the phoenix itself, right? So the phoenix is dying and then being reborn, having the 2 heads, right? So having the death and rebirth also is a indicator there of having the 2 heads, and
It is true, yes.
yeah, the 2-mindedness, the 2-headedness. That's very very much a Janus thing, is because you've got one mind going through the portal, or before you go through the portal, and then after you're of a different mind, right? So these two minds
That is
have almost
true.
a magnetic quality to them. And I think that there is something about the Thunderbird when it comes to time. Like
That
it goes
is
away,
true.
shows up again after a certain amount of time. So
So it's interesting now that you've talked about that. So with the eagle, it's very revered in Native American culture. Um, she or he who belongs to eagle medicine is known to travel between the worlds, and they are messengers of the gods. That's why when you hear them cry or call or whatever you want to call it, that is their symbol that they are talking to mortals like ourselves, or they're talking to the heavens. And that's why they are the highest soaring birds, because they're the only ones who can get to the altitude that they get to.
right. So in Wisconsin, at least, the eagle really has become a very potent symbol of the United States because there's so much roadkill on the sides of these roads out here in Wisconsin. They're basically glorified vultures, and there's
Hmm.
no better way to describe the American Empire at this point than just a glorified vulture.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. They were the true Atlantean Empire
Hmm.
at first. You know, the greatest. Well, like literally with the greatest army, as you know, the Roman Empire before them, the greatest standing army. Um, but you know, like with Rome, they're falling and falling hard. It's just this time we can all watch it happen because we have Wi-Fi. Oh,
And I
Logan.
get to watch it in person.
Yeah, yeah. Logan seems to disagree. Okay. Well,
On that note, what is right here, sir? That's an American flag. That
yeah.
flag ain't never coming down, and this empire may be bruised, but we ain't beaten. So get fucked on that regard. Oh, sorry about that. I don't care if I
I
gotta put a.
agree to disagree with Logan. I am so sorry to say that.
No,
Wait, was that?
it's fine. It's fine. You know, I do appreciate the brash honesty. Um, you know,
But no, after facts, we're facing a hard time, but it's going on everywhere, and it's like the little things that I'm doing. Like I kind of notice there's some people that are representatives of certain realms. I can detect that already. But I'll go and say this: I'm one of the individuals that's a higher tier above you, not as a mean of superiority, but as a mean of my job is that intensive, where I have to take all the collective nonsense and make something beautiful out of it. This is the best I could do with reality. I'm a reality bender. This was literally the best outcome. Otherwise, the last outcomes would have been absolute. Let's not talk about it. But
yeah.
when it comes to Janus and everything else,
Agree.
symbolism, they love their symbolism. And here's a funny thing: I will take their symbols and I will divert it to my own cause. Then who holds power over something that's been perverted and disgusted or is disgusting? Once you take something and invert it, is it really what it means? So we can abide by their petty symbols and symbolism. Like, oh, look, I'm making a double-headed eagle. It means I'm a member of this. It just means you're a poser. It means you're a bitch. You know what I mean? The real ones don't talk about that. They talk in the eyes, bro. I'm sorry. I've had a good day so far, so I apologize.
No, that's perfectly fine, man. But
I actually kind of agree with Logan on this. I think that we need to not get caught up in managed decline, managed news, even alternative media. I think it's all very managed. I think that there's a negative kind of demoralization campaign. I think that
That's why
if
I
we
don't pay attention to it.
I think
I'm
if we
sorry.
are, no, that's okay. I think if we are really like wizards or reality bending or, chaos magicians, or sorcerers or tantrics or, doing our own thing, and we are leaving the Kali Yuga. I mean, that is what's happening. I mean, that is what's happening. And so we will see the body of time as a desiccated corpse. That is how it's described. So what happens when time is liberated through Uranus? So I think that's what I'm more interested in. I'm more interested in like a more like we need to take all that Laurel Canyon bullshit that they tried to tell us, like the age of Aquarius. And yes, that is happening. But in my opinion, it is not Jupiter, it is Uranus. So I want to take that in like the ways that would mean in a positive way. Like, how can we make reality into what we want rather than what they want? I'm on Team Logan with that. That's just my opinion though.
I kind of agree on that point too, because aren't we going into Aquarius and Pluto actually too soon?
Yes,
Because I
yes.
There's
keep hearing that we're
the
like going
Aquarius conjunction
because
with
like
Pluto right
with
now.
my moon diary that I have that I started with a family member of mine is that it says that we're going into Aquarius and Uranus. Then we go back to God, I just lost my train of thought. Aquarius and Pluto, and then we go back to um Aquarius and Uranus, and then we go back into that sign of Aquarius back into Pluto, and that's going to be that sign for 60 years, wasn't it, guys? From what I keep reading, 60 years.
Some people say 60. I've heard 136. There's different, that's what's really difficult is sometimes it's very challenging to do interpretation of
When does it go
numbers.
back into Aquarius and Pluto? When does it go into that sign permanently for the next whatever years? Because I
Oh, it's not
know that's
fleeting, ma'am.
huge.
It's fleeting, ma'am. This is a rare nexus point, and what happens and what we think, say, and do, how you change the narrative is this. You unplug yourself from their shit, or if you can manage to actually see what they're up to, so you can plan against their plans and plans against those plans. If you want to be an adventurous sort of like that, you can go ahead and do that and stay connected to the news, the media, all that crap. And once you know
I
something,
leave that to Fox. I leave that to Fox. That is his thing. That is him. I don't do that. That
I
is his thing.
right,
I
right,
looked
but
it up.
the whole point I'm trying to get is like you first off, if you want to be the change you want to see in the world, right? So if you see trash on the ground, you're gonna be like, man, we should raise taxes to get jobs so we can clean up this trash, or you're gonna pick up the fucking trash and throw
True.
it
Oh, if
away.
it's like if the roads are busy, me and my son are outside picking up trash. I mean, that's who we are as people. So
So
And
may I intercept here
yeah,
to add?
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen. Uh, to add to Jin's concept here, Jin, I agree with you in the sense that um, the duality that Janus portrays, it is very much, it is an energy that we've understood and encompassed, but you can also get distracted. And at the end of the day, it is that self mastery that allows us to work in our energetic, as you say, our magic, right? Our alchemy, our energetic frequency and understanding. Um, did someone fall out? And so I really think that the key here, or the keys, is always going within. So the more that we are equipped to see through and prepare ourselves to encompass anything that's being thrown at us, right? With the multiple, I was telling this to Headless yesterday, right? That social media has become the new religion, right? So let's get into that. And what do I mean by that? I mean, think about it, right? Even if we look at the X, as a symbolism, if you look about it and pay attention, it's a cross, right? So it becomes it becomes the new theology where people, yes, we have fun on these platforms, but if you step away and you realize it, and if you're not practicing your own, your own senses, your own expansion, if you will, your self mastery, you get caught up and sunk in by all this, fictitious news, right? This whole chaos of, oh, aliens in Miami, everyone's looking in Miami, as opposed to understanding what's coming through. So that was kind of what, comes up with me. Jin fell off. I'm not sure if he lost connection.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, connection seems to be a bit of an issue. That happens a lot, especially when I'm recording. I guess it's because like we talk about the things that you're not supposed to talk about. But yeah, like I looked it up, like Pluto in Aquarius and all. I looked it up real quick, and apparently the last time that happened was in the year 1777. So 1 year after the the founding of the American Empire, pretty much. So I guess like now we've kind of come full circle. Like it's the dawn of a new empire, if you will. You know, what was the past is now the future again.
Right. Well, I think to go into Uranus a little bit, because Uranus keeps getting brought up, I think Uranus is the original eagle, right? It's the original king of heaven. And if you look back at history, the greeting of the king was always with the clanging of swords. So I associate the Uranus energy with the clanging of metal, right? The clanging of metal, you've got this X idea, you've got these crossed swords. So there's going to be that sort of a time period. And then you're going to have the arrival of this new kind of eon or this new age. And that's sort of always brought in with this Uranus energy. And if you go back, have you ever heard the song Bang a Gong by T-Rex? It's like the most ultimate Uranus energy. If you've got that, it's great. So Uranus is the groom of Gaia, right? And so Uranus is all the sky people, right? So any of these, Thunderbird ideas, any of that stuff, that's all sky people realm. That's all Uranus ideas there. So Uranus is the sky, and having the sky as the throne of heaven is really what we're talking about. Because right now there's a sort of a contention over who will rule the throne of heaven, and everybody's sort of trying to clamor to get their place. You've got the BRICS countries, you've got, the United States. And I don't think it's going to be a clear victory. I don't think that at all. That's not going to be, very, very readily determined, right? So I don't know who it is, but at this point, it's going to be an interesting fight. I think there isn't going to be a clear ruler in the coming years. And I think that's probably a good thing.
I would like to argue on that one point. If you have a strong economy, a strong military, and a strong, stable, charismatic leader, you can survive any struggle. They make the choices so you don't have to.
Yeah, okay, but which country still has that? If you look at the the bigger nations, which country still has that charismatic leader and a outstanding military and a stable economy? Like the economy, well, worldwide basically is well, I don't want to say it's down. It will definitely be crashing again soon.
You can say depression. We're allowed to say that word. We're allowed to say that word.
Well, yeah, it's sure. It's we're in a slump. We're in a depression again. It's probably gonna. I mean, it'll most likely crash this year again. But we'll see. But I do agree that there's probably not gonna be like one decisive winner, one decisive ruler. I mean, talking Janus, it's probably gonna be like very much east and west again. We have China, Russia, cooperating together, of course.
Keep an eye on Turkey. Turkey is like the
home
east versus west. So, what we saw last year where Turkey had that huge earthquake right after the whole balls in the sky ritual. That's something to keep an eye on, because he was deciding whether to go with BRICS or whether to go with the West. And then you see the big earthquake sort of like as a threat, right? And so I think Turkey, where East meets West, is going to be, one of these deciding factors. And if he could play his cards right, it's going to be, kind of a divided victory, So I think that.
And Erdogan has veto power in the United Nations.
Yep.
And like I work with a lot of Turkish people their sense of nationalism is still very, very strong. Like I've heard multiple of my colleagues say that, if they get drafted for the Dutch army and for the Turkish army, they're choosing the Turkish army, even though, they do live here now. They do have the Dutch nationality as well. The sense of nationalism is still so incredibly strong, and they still like don't even dream of going back. Like, it's just the plan is going back. Get your education here, get your money here. Of course, over the years, just sent a lot back to family members already. That's another thing. The sense of family is still really strong. And yeah, Turkey, like literally half of the country is considered Europe and the other half is considered Asia or Asia Minor. So, I mean, Turkey is like quite literally Janus, if you will, as a country, or the double-headed eagle in one country, the Byzantine Empire.
I will also offer that.
What if you're onto something? What if you actually decided the winner by realizing that and affirming in reality?
Well, I agree with you, what you're saying, Logan, but I will just say this about Turkey, is Turkey is the original home of the deep state. I mean, that even is where that term comes from, deep state. It's translated from a Turkish phrase because of a car accident that happened with the former prime minister of Turkey and his, I think she was a Miss World model and a general. So, and Turkey is also the home of the Donme Sabbateans. If anyone's familiar with that, they are the ones who founded basically the modern Turkish secular state, as well as secularism as Islamic ideology in general. And they also are directly related to certain particular people that we won't necessarily name, but that who are living on a contentious piece of Middle Eastern territory right now. So I just think that there is something very interesting going on. I personally think Erdogan is a big UN simp. I think he has wanted to be part of the West for the last, I don't know, 20 years. I think that he's westward facing. And I think that the eagle also stands on the wheel of time, just like was mentioned before. So, but again, it can go. The wheel of time is really a liberated idea when Uranus and Pluto come into their conjunction. So, what will that mean is that their method of control, the eagle is the civilizational knowledge bringer. He is the one who locks down the swastika or the wheel of time. He roots it into place with his two legs. So which way does it turn? Well, in my opinion, and this is more of maybe a Buddhist or tantric idea, maybe Eurasianist, but we are in control of it. We are not necessarily the Chakravartin or the wheel liberating hero, but in a one way, our collective will is more important in the next yuga than in any other time in history. So if we can just get over our collective bullshit, we can really do something. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop. But that's sort of where I'm at.
No. You're absolutely right, and it's interesting that you mention the swastika, because that's what what came to my mind too when you said that the eagle is standing on the wheel of time. That National Socialists image of National Socialist Germany, which was by all means and purposes, like it was a powerhouse. Germany was the powerhouse of Europe. I mean, which is why it had to be destroyed for the Atlantean Empire to rise. But like that's exactly what came to mind: the eagle on the the swastika in the circle in the
Well, back to Turkey again for a second. So if you notice in the Bible, where they sent all of the first missionaries was to Turkey and Asia Minor, right? They went to Galatians, they went to Phrygia, right? What's interesting about Phrygia and the Dutch is right next to the Netherlands, you've got the Frisians. It's pronounced the same, but it's still the Frisians, right? And so the Frisian cap, right, that you have from Turkey is the same Frisian cap that you've got over in Friesland. So what's going
Yeah.
on with that? You know,
Oh
I mean,
shit! I never even looked at it that way, dude. I am Dutch. My kids live in Frisia,
yeah.
dude.
Uh,
Yo,
so
we
you've
still,
got the
yeah,
double-headed eagle right there. You've got all the people, Galatians. Those are the Gauls, and they're in Phrygia, and they're in Turkey. They're in all these places over there, as well as over in their, homelands. So
I mean,
what I think is,
I've
go ahead.
definitely seen theories float around that the Phrygians or the Scythians, that they became the Vikings eventually, which would absolutely make sense. A seafaring people, sea trading people, here in Northern Europe, like we got plenty of water. The Dutch, very much a seafaring people. We live with water. It's our greatest ally and our greatest enemy. Like the majority of our country lays below sea level, so if the dikes break, we're doomed. Luckily, I can swim. But yeah, dude, that makes so much sense. And the Frisians, like they were, like speaking of sense of nationalism, like I still go to Frisia often, of course, for my kids, but like still to this day, the real diehard Frisians don't consider themselves Dutch. They have their own flag, they have their own language, they have their own sport, even Vierjappen, like just jumping across water with a big freaking stick and trying not to break your ankles on the landing. But like they do not consider themselves Dutch. Like you have the Netherlands and you have Frisia. For them, it's still like that. So, their sense of nationalism is still so incredibly strong. And it's, of course, it's lumped in under the Germanic people, like, but before the whole um west coast of the Netherlands, like the majority of the west coast was Frisia. Like you had Frisia, and then you had Germania, and then of course Gaul, which we now know as as Belgium and France to the south.
Right. And if you go back to the Oralinda book, you find all of these different elements at play. And the Oralinda book is all about that swastika, right? All about the six-sided swastika, not the four. So it's the six side and not the four side. And that's I think that's going to be coming into play, because if there's still a Frisian element, because the Frisian cap is the symbol for freedom all throughout the 16th, 17th, 18th century. Anytime you find freedom, you find that Frisian cap, that ugly sort of uh, stocking cap thing, as being
Yeah.
the symbol for liberty, right? Well, now we're looking at this sort of conflict, and I think it's going to come down into which side Turkey chooses. And yes, it is the home of the deep state, going all the way back, I think, to the Eastern Roman Empire, right?
The
Because
Byzantine Empire.
right. So the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine, this is where we get the term Byzantine, right? So Byzantine would refer to a state that is completely consumed by, internal sort of a political struggle for power, and there's all sorts of distractions and, maze type looking at things to get to the form of power. And so having that understanding is going to be very important in the next coming years, I think.
I would like to say real quick, this feels like I can only put it into mathematical equations. I barely learned algebra 1, and you guys are talking about trig. I'm a 32-year-old Native American Frenchman Gothic gamer. Pretty much. I mean, like, the only thing I've studied for freaking 32 years was reality and the ability and energy and how those things correlate. And it correlates kind of like that's for another time. I don't have time for that right now. But no, when it comes to New World Order and all the old order, the old guard and shit, what I was trying to explain before, when I was like, my mind moves quicker than my body sometimes. They're like passing the baton off, right? With the eagle and Janus and all that, they're passing the baton off. So if you want to be in the know, then look at what all the players are doing and use your symbolism against them. Be like, oh, you're planning for this to be a sacred event. What if we bomb that place? Logan, we can't bomb. You get the analogy. You know what I'm saying, right? So they've told us what's powerful and sacred to them. Why not tear it down? Make something new. That's all I got to add on that.
Well, a new world order, if you will.
Yeah, the New World Order of Mercy, bringing everybody into that blue-green swirl, will bring everybody into kind of a globalist, singular identity of false compassion, false virtue, false kind of justice, I guess, is one way to say it. Maybe false decolonization. Maybe that's another kind of way to articulate it. And I also think that Logan's right in a way. I think that, I mean, maybe I'm not as extreme as that, but I think that there is something to be said about discarding some of the things that they hold sacred and not inverting it, but like letting it go, letting it die, letting it be on the carnal ground and just letting it pass through and like letting the cycle happen and not grasp at things, like not be the eagle, but be like the new man that arises in the Aquarian age. So that's sort of where I think. But yeah, I agree with
Be
Logan
the
on
Ubermensch.
that. Maybe not so. You know, I'm very middle pillar, so I don't know about Uberman.
No,
But
but I get what you're saying. It's like, you know, like we'll make our own new world order, because like with the idea itself, the concept itself, you know, a people united under one thing or whatever. I mean, there isn't necessarily something wrong with it. It's just their version of the new world order with all, you know, the fake stuff and the deep state and the, you know, the control and, you know, mind control and whatever, you know. That's not okay. That's what I'm against. A people united, I mean, yes, please, but just
there's a difference. There's a difference between community and globalism, right? We have always had this discussion. Tribe and community is something that needs to come back because it's what social media just murdered.
Right.
I mean, there's no other way to word it. I mean, we see the government aiming for what they call, you know, oneness or unity, and that's the exact opposite of it. They want all the people divided under one government, not all the people united under one idea. And it's a terrible forthcoming.
Well, I have a couple of ideas on that. So, for example, there's a lot of symbolism that they put into their pothole, or not pothole, but their manhole covers, and they put next to water. So why aren't we putting our symbols next to water? I mean, anybody
Russia's
can
already
do it.
doing that.
Right. And so what we could do is we could be structuring the water in a much more harmonious way just by incorporating our symbols by the water and having a coherent message instead of one of, you know, confusion, which is what we've basically gone into, is all of the symbols are meant to be confused. And having coherence next to water is far more powerful.
Entered the age of babbling again. We may all have the ability to speak to each other online and the ability to have community, but for some reason we have done the exact opposite with it. We've isolated ourselves more. We've withdrawn, and now the water. We all used to walk down, get our water from the stream, or, you know, dig a well, spring house underneath our homes. And we got our water from natural sources. Now, not only are they importing our water to us, but they have added so many things to it to separate us from spirituality just in the water. And I mean, I know there's so many conspiracy theories about fluoride in the water and all that. We know that it has activity with the pineal gland. Fluoride does not react positively with the human body. It is a poison.
Yeah.
Symbols, yes, even our oldest wells and sources were always decorated, adorned, or blessed in some way.
Mhm.
But there's only one faith that I know of that still adamantly blesses their water or puts a symbol near it. And it's the Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah, their holy
That was
water.
actually really profound. Like, wow. Like, seriously, wow. I understood it.
How did
100%.
they get us to separate ourselves from doing that? And it's all been replaced with holy water.
I will just say that I might be the most pro-Christian on the stream right now, but I am not a Christian. But I will just say that I do think that there is I know Stein actually agrees with this in some way. I don't want to speak for you, Stein, but I know you kind of do, that there is a deep metaphysical esoteric layer, especially in maybe Greek Orthodoxy and Catholicism, as well as, and I think that there's something very interesting biblically. I think that the Bible is a grimoire. Absolutely. You have to know the Bible very well to know Agrippa, to consecrate seals of Solomon. I mean, anyone who has any background in grimoire magic, you have to know your Psalms. You have to know your Bible verses. I mean, that is just a must. It's a given. And also, like, Christian hermeticism is extremely important. And I know, although I am definitely not as good as Stein on the more Germanic Norse stuff, but I know that some of the later kind of 11th century texts, they mix a lot of the stuff together. And then the
Yes.
Dutch powwow magic that came to the US, that is also very syncretic with
Well,
biblical things. So
that
Man,
time frame, the 10th and 11th century, they started zippering everything together to try to unite. Look what happened in Germany in the 10th century into the 11th century. Between Germany, Rome, and that whole area, you had entire groups of pagans that were united. Harold Bluetooth, right, the Danish king. It said that right there at the convergence from the 10th to 11th, he converted not only Denmark, all of Denmark, to Christianity, which was his claim that it was almost done overnight, which, I mean, we know that's not the case, but they may have done it quickly. But then he also has the claim to uniting Denmark, Norway, another country, and then converting all of them to Christianity also. But in order to do that, they needed it to feel like one thing. They needed it to feel like it was the same thing. They were just doing it the wrong way. So they had this uniting of all these religions at the same time where they just kind of like zippered them right together.
I mean, you see that with Christianity even nowadays. Like, so many of the names, so many of, you know, the etymology, the customs, and all of that. It's, you know, it has its background in paganism. It has its background in mysticism. Like, I've been saying for years that, you know, I don't believe there is necessarily anything wrong with, you know, Christianity, like pure Christianity as it was when it, you know, first got introduced so many thousands of years ago. It's just the type of Christianity that the church preaches now. Like, they know jack shit. I mean, I've had arguments with Christians on mostly online, and they're so ignorant. And I can tell you, like, all those, well, chronically online Christians, you know, thumping the Bible and defending their faith and whatever. I yeah, I mean, I probably know more about Christianity than they do. I mean, for sure, I know more about Christianity than they do about paganism. You know, it's like, pagan, double digit dumbass. It's like,
See,
no,
and
come on,
there,
like, look at the
I
Catholicism.
am the
Like,
heretic. I am the pagan.
I mean,
there's
I'm
like,
not
my
really
fa-
drunk. Don't mind me.
my favorite example is Catholicism. Like, they, you know, they what is now Saint Bridget, they pretty much wholesale copied her from the goddess Bridget from the Irish.
Yes,
And they did it with so
there's a
many
lot
others.
of that
They
that's
just
been done though.
Loves to put up everything that society loves to put up, and what people are attracted to, their attention goes to, and what they wear, what sort of stories that they heroes look up to. Like, look at Marvel, for instance, right? So what I'm trying to go with that is people like me that work with energy is we tend to notice these massive, we call it mana pools, MANA.
Mhm.
For mana, you know. And what I will go and do is another reason, like when I do my little 24-hour ritual prayer meditation broadcast underground DJ event, I haven't come with a name for it yet. It's just a ritual that I do. I take those pools of energy from across time and space to fuel my spell on top of the other shit that I do. So what I'm trying to say is there's so much energy that's been pulled towards these certain things. Why not steal it and redirect it to something else?
Correct.
So on that note, I've got Gerald Pollack's book here, The Fourth Phase of Water. If you guys haven't read it, it's very, very good. It's talking about the exclusionary zones that are produced in water. And the way that exclusionary zones are produced in water is through the charging of the sun. So the sun is charging the water into creating these exclusionary zones. So, for instance, the heart does not have the power to pump blood all throughout the entire body. It's mostly done through exclusionary zones within veins and arteries. So this exclusionary zone idea goes deep to the core of humans, right? Humans in
Oh,
general.
yeah.
And
Just look at our oceans. Our oceans are separated water on top of different layers. You have different levels of temperature and salinity that all exist like rivers within one big body of water.
exactly. So putting structuring elements by the water is going to create a definite impact on how people see the world. So having that sort of bridge, if you will, like there's a way to bridge water from one container to another using electricity. Now, what we're doing is we're introducing that energy into the system so that we can get to a more cohesive and a more sane rationalization. And we're doing it completely without anyone's approval. So if you can make a sign, like let's include Janus in this. Let's say you make a sign using Janus on one face, on one side, you put the energy you're trying to get rid of. On the other side, you're moving into, right, with the flow of the water. That's the sign that you want it to transform into. And what you're doing is you're alchemizing the energy just on the basis of the sign you're putting next to the water. And that Janus energy, especially now, is going to give it a little bit of an extra kick in that direction. So let's figure out those signs and symbols.
Are you guys
that stuff down.
familiar with Dr. Narco Longo?
Yes.
He has the Old World Florida channel. All right. He's got the video that's like the anchors around the big stone anchors. Now, in that same video, he shows a stone that's over on the west coast of Florida that I swear to you has Atlas or Janus's head carved into it, right? And I have seen that video so many times, and he keeps saying Atlas, right? But I see like a Giro or Janus. So I don't know how to say that one properly. I'm too damn English. Either way, but you see that, and there has always been this trend in humanity of having our symbols right next to the bodies of water. When we pull up to a place on a boat, you know what I mean? It's the first thing that you see is this giant standing godhead on a stone, right? The canalways that are lining that whole area also have some of those standing stones, and there's things, or anchor stones, and there's things carved into them also. So the flow of water in symbology has always had this intertwining. Now, I've always me and Stein have talked about this in several other videos. The experiments with blessing water, right, where they watch the cellular structure of it change, right? Can you erect a permanent blessing next to it that constantly keeps that change going, right? And I think that's what they were doing, is they were putting this constant positive force next to their water, and it fed them. Now we have stopped doing that. We have started worshiping at the altar of Ericsson and Sony and Motorola and iPhone. And I mean,
But
I've been hurt inside watching social media kill society.
If they need to get rid of their liquid assets, I'm game.
Right?
I'll
I
go
think
with
we
the
need.
flow.
I think
Come
we
out
need to
with
do a
technology, they're gonna be
Kickstarter
clowns.
for. I think we need to do a Kickstart for like a reservation, like an actual up in the mountains tribal reservation. Just do a Kickstarter for it.
And
See what we get.
I just thought of something like with the anchor, and like speaking of the double-headed eagle, like the anchor is like pretty much the like the double-headed eagle but upside down. It anchors you in place, it holds you in place. Well, the double-headed eagle, is spreading itself. It's looking forward, it's looking back, it's looking to the sides, and the anchor is just it's holding you in place. I just thought of that
100%.
imagery.
It could be the sky anchor. So the double-headed eagle is the sky anchor, and then you've got the anchor that goes down into the earth. If you're thinking about it etherically, they would probably be similar, on some level.
I always saw the anchor as Mjolnir. That was just always the shape of it, the outline. It just kind of always resembled Mjolnir. When you look at the older anchors, they were just kind of a carved piece of stone that had a rope tied to them that was very mushroom shaped.
And then you put them together, the upper anchor and the lower ankle, and you get the tree of life.
Yeah,
right? Both of them together.
The roots and the branches. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
I
going
gotta let
to
the grill while we're doing it.
Sorry about that.
No, Jin, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add that, yes, I agree with all of that. And I also think that the anchor would arise at Bana, if you want to give it like an association. It's like the old king, and it's like the, it's the form. It's the, it's keeping us rooted to reality. It's keeping us rooted to the material world in a way. And the eagle, obviously, I said, as Acha said, so it's all constantly expanding. It's constantly expansive growth, looking over the water towards the new land. That is what the eagle does. So I just think that there is something interesting there. And I think that there's a dialectical relationship with all the spheres, but particularly between Chesed and Binah in our terms of how we come into matter. I think that we come into matter through the synthesis of those two spheres in particular. And I think that a lot of our current politics is also kind of a dialectical relationship between those two spheres as well.
Jin, I was speaking earlier while you dropped off a little bit about Uranus. Now, have you ever heard the song Bang a Gong, Get It On by T-Rex?
Yes.
I have not personally.
Check that song out and tell me that's not the ultimate Uranus song. He's talking about you're dirty and sweet because, Uranus's partner is Gaia, right? So you've got the earth and the sky coming together. And Bang a Gong is very interesting because it's like the clanging of metal. And to me, the energy of Uranus is all about the clanging of metal. It's sort of like this is the start of something, maybe the start of a race or the start of a rule. And the ancient kings would all be greeted by the clanging of swords. So I think there's a definite energetic component to that.
Well, I think that sound is extremely important. I think sound is relative to either. I think that sound can be either impure or pure. I think sound plays a large part of what the middle pillar is. I think that it can go up and down, up or down towards the upper.
I think there's no accident that our technology has taken the electrical rather than the cymatics and frequency branch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that our higher ups are aware of the potential of cymatics and frequency energy and 0 point and all of the things they say don't exist. And I think that our ancestors, even I think the Egyptians and everything, I think they just had different technology than us. And I think we look back with our modern lens and try to analyze so much of the old world and the old texts and the way they did things, and we're missing this massive context piece. You know what I mean? Like where they were using one whole branch of technology that we have completely lost, and we're sitting here scratching our heads going, how did they move those stones, George? Like, it's just maddening to me that everybody's going, it's ancient aliens and all this. No, it's our ancient ancestors who just knew things that we forgot. You know, I've been looking at the energy thing, right, and thinking that energy was always something that was displayed in every piece of art, right? Like they somehow captured the energy, the mentality, and everything in every little piece of art. Like, have you seen the little chess pieces where the rook is a berserker chewing on his shield?
Really?
Right? Yeah.
So it's like items and totems and shit and symbols and signs and crap. You clear a space for it to enter. You give it a vessel to inhabit.
But you look at a modern chess set, and it's just a castle, right? It's a plain little rook. But somehow with that berserker chewing on the edge of his shield with his eyes pinned wide open, right? It captures this emotion, this charging into battle emotion.
Yeah.
You know, we've lost that communication, that little extra something that we add to art back in the day. We've lost it. We've lost it in building. We've lost it in everything. And I think that leans heavily into like the loss of symbology, right? Because I mean, we look at buildings that were built 500 years ago. Why are they still standing? But houses that went through Hurricane Andrew that were built 2 years before got torn down.
Well,
right?
I have a suggestion when it comes to cymatics and how to implement cymatic technology. So it goes to the Celtic knot, right? So in Celtic knot, when you're creating Celtic knot work, you start at the conjunction points and then you work outwards. So when we're looking at these different cymatics for different types of frequencies, you find that there are conjunction points that radiate outwards. So if we're trying to build electronics or other equipment based off of cymatics, if we start thinking about it like a Celtic knot work, we'll start to be able to develop it a lot easier using that methodology.
Well, just think about how much our with the cymatics too, but like with just the little changes that we've taken in the way we learn, like runes were written in a spiral with Elder Futhark, right? Starting on the outside edge, it was written in like a counterclockwise spiral, working its way inward, usually on many of the rune stones they found.
Yeah.
We don't read round anymore. We read square because of books and pages and the way they're shaped, right? So when our medium changes from going to writing on round stones and, you know, discs that are cut off of a tree where you got like a wood cookie and you're, you know, writing on it, you no longer have that round structure to write on. You've got these square books. And I think we've, in a hypothetical sense, I think we've squared our minds off. You know what I mean? I think we used to think round and now we think square. And I think that changed the energy, our trajectory of thought, and everything.
Well, Josh, guess we'll have to publish our books on wood as well. We'll just, you know, cut down a big ass tree and start riding around. It's going to be one hell of a tree, though.
Right? I was, you know, as a joke, Stein, I was actually looking into Amazon publishing to see if you could get books in different shapes, and they won't. It's just all rectangles.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That'd be so
Yeah,
cool,
I actually
though.
looked at that and I was like, I wonder if I could publish a book that's round. Nope, can't do it.
Dude, can you
You can.
imagine the
It's
Shadow
not
Crown and
funny.
the Pagan Revival, but like round, like a round
Yeah.
cut?
You'd have to do it all yourself.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, just Amazon doesn't do it. I'm sure there's a publisher out there that probably would, though.
Well, you've got also the cookies that you could cut out of a tree, right? So you've got these competitions where they chop these things into little circles. Well, you can use that as the basis for a writing round. And what's also funny about writing round is that you've only got a limited amount of space, and if the typesetting is consistent, you've got a limited amount of number of characters that you can put into each one of these round segments. So everything has to be artistically placed into that thing to get all of the meaning in on each one of these round surfaces. So it turns each verse or paragraph into a totality. So
Yep.
No filler, only the things that truly matter.
Yep, and you got to think how much planning. You had to think about what you were going to put down, because if your thought went too long, then you ran out of room in the center of your page. What do you do? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but now we look at that round writing, right? Now look at the ancient Americans, all of their glyphs with that round cymatic spiral, right? I think they've always been telling us that there's a doorway in sound, right? Or doorways with sound. Now we look at the symbols, right? And you can look at certain old Celtic symbols and even like old Germanic symbology where they have like the layered tribal symbols, and it starts to resemble certain frequencies, right? You look at different frequencies of like metal shavings on a table, and it's all right there. The crop circles as well. I think something has been telling us, hey, listen, it's the wrong way. Use sound. This frequency opens this doorway. This frequency leads to this galaxy. And I think we've been just like, our government's known it, but they've led us down this other technological path that's left us tax slaves.
And isn't it interesting how in like most popular media, like portals are round, are rounded. They're not doorways. It's not like you open a door and like you literally like step into another dimension. No, it's like this huge, like rounded portal, which you have to go through.
It's steel bearing.
It's
steel ball.
Yeah.
It's my orb. It's a hole in 3 dimensions, gentlemen.
Dude, I had one of those, and I don't know where it went. I had a ball bearing that was like a 3/4 inch ball bearing that I walk around with it in my pocket. I just carry it, and over the last couple weeks, I don't know where it went. It just vanished.
It went where it had to go. It probably had to leave its job with you and go somewhere else that needed it.
And had to plug a hole somewhere.
Right? Oh, I was going to say, you guys are like one of the best groups I have ever had the privilege in my 32 years of life of meeting. So I got to say, like, I'm grateful just to be with you guys. Just to even listen.
Oh, it's great having you, man.
The conversations do get fun, and they derail. We'll start talking about Janus and wind up on Satan and all kinds of other craziness. So it's like you just never know where it's going to go.
That's been every show ever so far.
It's very hard.
We did manage to keep Ragnarok in a line pretty well.
Right. Odin's son. Basically,
guys, one at a time. One at a time. Also tends to happen.
So expansive, it's very hard to get away from them. So we talked about portals, and what we're talking about now with the sound portals, very Janus energy. Very much so.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're telling me these rituals that I've been fucking doing based on sound and music and my own music that I've created, I've been worshiping Janus energy?
That's been the point. Yep, you didn't know it. Janus is always right there behind the door.
Or Odin, or both the Atlantean, or, there's how many representations of the same type of energy?
I'll just offer this, though, that sound can be purified through internal theurgic practices. And all of Buddhism, especially Tantric Buddhism, retains all of this kind of like discourse around sound, consciousness, the secret mantra, how to use it, how to purify it, how to do ritual procedures with it. So I know that I'm a little more trad in my opinion. Well, maybe not, because obviously you guys are pagan, so maybe I'm not the most trad on the panel, but I think that there definitely is something really interesting there and that we've preserved.
I mean, like so many do it still, the mantras, Galder, chanting,
I do it in my room.
You name it, everything has, every religion, every, spiritual school, spiritual streaming, whatever, does something with sound and does something with vocalization. And, like speaking of vibrations, the classic, the opera singer breaks the glass with her voice because, the vibrations are just so incredibly strong, and her power, her voice, even though like you don't use your voice box, but like her power is so incredibly strong, like she can literally vibrate her voice, her energy on the same level as the glass breaking it.
Look
You
at
know,
all
and
the books that teach you to start reading runes and getting to know them, and all of the most advanced ones will incorporate water and Galder sound of the runes, the names of the runes, the gods that the Aets they're part of, into the reading. And I've always done the sound and water with my runes, the blessing, the whole.
And like, how do we learn our ABCs? Like, pretty much by song or rhyme or whatever. You know, A B C D. It's, you know, like you make a song of it.
Yep. It's commercial jingles, bro. They burn into our brain. Why? Because those jingles, those rhymes, those little stanzas, those poems have been part of us for thousands of years. Probably since we were mostly Scythian or Solutrean or Mongolian, depending on where we come from.
Yeah, so the Scythians, they didn't really invade. They were just trying to get their shit back.
Scythians weren't, they were nomads. They were constant nomads. They followed deer herds, man. Like
right. But they owned it all. They were the first empire of the horse. And then, you know, you've got all these Mongols coming back into Europe and they're like, oh no, they're invading. They're not invading. They're just getting their stuff back. You guys are the ones who settled and invaded.
Yeah, well, the Scythians were half Mongol. According to ancient Chinese sources, the Scythians were a mix between the Siberian Gokturk tribe and the Huns of Hungary, the Hungarian people. The
Turks, but the Gokturk.
The Gokturks made it down there, mixed with the Hungarians, and they became the Huns and the Scythians.
Which is
I've always
something we're
taken
still
that
going to do a whole
perspective as
show
well.
about, because like you've done so much research about that, and you found so much like that really requiring its own show. But sorry, Jin, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I totally agree. I'm more of a Eurasianist in that way of thinking. I do totally agree with that. I think that they're more of a mixed kind of like that's what Central Asia looks like now. Like if you go to Central Asia right now, it is very mixed. You see people that look Korean, look Chinese, with like kids that have red hair, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes. You see the whole range. It's race becomes very nebulous at a certain point. And I know that people don't love to talk about that, but as a mixed race person, I will just say it really does. It becomes like this like thing that we project onto ourselves in the past. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying that there is something in Central Asia where it becomes very mixed and it becomes very nebulous. So I totally agree with that. And yeah, we shouldn't get too like, you know, I think that the perennial system's for all of us. I think it doesn't really matter like where you're from, what your background is. I think what it matters is like do the practices, like do the things in a positive, like pro-cosmic direction. Don't be anti-cosmic. Don't just do things for low desire, do things for higher desire, do things for purification, karma rectification. I think those are super important for the next yuga. I think that we cannot I mean, I try and emphasize that as much as I can. Obviously, I'm a flawed person, but I do the best I can with that. And yeah, so that's what I would leave with people is just, you know, it's really important. This spiritual purification, we all need to be working on it.
We've fallen away from the three pillars, though.
Thing happens. Sorry.
As a humanity, I think we a lot of us, I can't say all of us, but many people have fallen away from the three pillars way of thinking. That family is the base of the pillar, right, and then community is the next, because you need those two things to hold up the faith and the religion and the tradition. So the most important thing has always been family. Now you have different cultures that place a higher importance on community, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but in the Germanic way of thinking, it has always been family, community, faith, right? And I think a lot of people have fallen away from that. You know, in Christianity, it's faith, right? And from your faith, you'll get your family and your community and all that other stuff. And I think that's the ass backwards way of thinking.
I mean, if you're talking like family and pillar and whatever, like years ago, I went on vacation to Jordan and Egypt with my parents and my siblings. Like,
I've seen the pictures of Petra; they were awesome.
Oh yeah, it's great. Very touristy though. but like they literally live in the same house. Like mom and dad live on the ground floor, then their kids live on the floor above, and then their kids live on the floor above that. And like if there's no more room, well, guess we'll just build another floor on top of it. So you'll have like 3, 4, 5 generations
In the
living
same structure.
like literally on different floors, like with each generation, like you pretty much go up another floor, and you'll see houses like under construction where clearly another layer is built on top of it. And like it's so normal there. But like then, because when your parents are older, you're supposed to take care of them, so of course you're gonna have to live close by, and preferably like even in the same house. Like you go down the stairs, there are mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here in the West, it's like, oh, you're 30 years old, you still live with your parents, loser.
Get him out of here.
They have created a system in America now where we're coming back to multi-generational homes, right? Because they've literally inflated the price of owning property so high that people do, in many areas of America, people do not have the option. Like in Florida, right? The average median income in Florida is $30,000. The average median home price in Florida is almost $500,000.
Yeah.
So you're not, off of a $425,000 home price, you're not paying that off on a $30,000 salary. And it's created this impossible situation where I think that we're being forced back into that.
Unless you have a whole family together, split, like quite literally splitting the bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta take off, but this has been a great room. You guys have been great. Renormalize the family tree in all of its forms.
Yeah.
Renormalize the family tree. Thank you, guys.
Tradition.
Well, thank you for
tradition
coming
alive.
on. It's been amazing, and I would love to have you on back soon. So
You got it.
thank you very much.
But what
Logan,
about
you've been dying to say something. Go ahead. Sorry, and now I'm interrupting you. Sorry, bro. Go ahead.
You're fine. What about individuals like myself that adhere to the void and have been exiled from society and all family? We are the insane outcasts. What about us? We don't have families. We are the nobody.
Logan, you get to live at Chokmah. You get to live in the smoke of mystification. You get to live with the widow of God. So you got to do your spells and all your magic and all your reality bending, and that's what you get. And you just that's okay too. We need the mystics and we need the madmen, and that's okay.
The term Skagamore. The term Skagamore means people of the forest, or the outcasts, the outlaws, those of the forest, right? But when you think about it, we all wandered out of the forest into a city to make it. I mean, we all came from the forest in the beginning. And all of a sudden, because people civilized, they bastardized those still in the forest. Why? I find that
nothingness, which is connected to source. That's where mine's taking it. That's where my knowledge is taking that.
Well,
so I've
think about it.
Myself from society and nonsense. I've adopted my own way, which is adopting a life of silence, darkness, and loneliness for decades. And I've actually grown closer to God. I don't know. My mind's interpret everything you're saying in different ways, I guess.
I think it's a kind of merit that you've been undertaking, like a spiritual process. That's how I would understand it. I mean, even with Stein, when I was on Greyhorns, I did talked about Dumavati, the goddess of smoke, who I assigned to Chokmah, and that is her conceptual idea: is that she is a Chandali, an outcast from society, a widow who has given up, burned all of her material possessions, and gone to live on the carnal ground of ultimate reality to get closer to God. So in a way, many people in the modern age are in that kind of phase. And COVID also was very much in that Neptunian kind of smoke of mystification. So I think that you are on your own process. I mean, it's not going to be something that everybody understands, but it's
funny because
be valid for you.
The cabin in the woods meme. It's just really funny. You know what I mean? The people out in the woods are looked at as outcasts, yet it's what everybody wants to do.
Like, could you survive in a cabin in the woods for a week, no internet, no TV, and like then at the end of the week walk out with 40 mils? Like, yeah, where do I sign up? Like, easy.
No, I die of chronic diarrhea the second day in. It's like, really? You know, like,
It's called the 90s. We drank from the outside hose.
for
Oh, yeah,
real,
like-
dude. Oh, I'm an
Dude,
80s kid, bro. I'm an 80s kid.
I'm a 90s
Footballs
kid,
to
though.
the
Like,
face.
we still did it, but that's how we survived. That's how we survived, right? Like, we drank the hose water, like the fucking dirtiest water there is.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you. How many plastics did we intake, dude? Like through the 80s? That's just insane. Dude, we were like BPA engines.
We're probably all Barbie doll now.
Well, you know, inside, yeah, like I believe it's like nowadays you breathe in the amount of plastic equal to like a credit card, like a year or something, and
Yeah.
which is yeah, exactly that. Like you have several credit cards in your lungs just without any credit, unfortunately.
I ain't getting paid. Fuck.
Telling
I mean,
you.
like just imagine, you know, you go buy something, you can like quite literally just cough up a credit card. How handy would that be?
Dude, we've gotten smarter though, thank God. And like I know as a humanity and as a society, we've done it multiple times. I mean, look at the Romans when they started making lead cups. You know, I mean, we fucked up in the past. Okay, we get it, right?
I mean,
when
you know,
are we going
speaking
to
of
take convenience and throw it away and say, okay, let's just do it the right way the first time?
But speaking of lead and speaking of vibrations, it's something that's, you know, that I see like kind of coming back in the zeitgeist, if you will. Lead like really stops like EMFs from coming in and from going out. So if you have lead paint in your, you know, in your home, then all the EMF or like mind control EMF or like, you know, whatever it may be, let's go into the conspiracy realm because why not? It stops it from coming in.
Yes.
So
which is why they don't want you to make your house a Faraday cage.
Exactly, and same thing with copper. Like we see that coming back now too, especially in agriculture. Stick a copper rod in the ground, coil it, and you know your plants will grow like 3 times the size and much faster.
Yeah,
that
so
might
let's go
answer the
cult.
question that I've always had as to why we don't build more of our structures subterranean, because it would block out the signals.
I mean, we're probably gonna have to soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do it occasionally. We go back subterranean to escape the climate. It's
Would that
happened to
be
humanity
why-
how many times?
Would that be why all men and like all boys just have such a fascination with digging holes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like whenever we have like just the tiniest of shovel or a spade or whatever, like we start digging.
I get it.
Bro,
It's something primal. It's something.
a good stick. Tell me as a boy, you've got the good stick where you just like find this stick and you're like, this is my stick. You know what I mean? It becomes your walking stick, your weapon, your fake gun, your everything.
And you know, if you're a bit fancier, like you know, you carve things into it and whatever, like truly making it a stick, and then like you get so upset when it, you know, like when it breaks or whatever, and you try to fix it, but it's never the same again. It's not your stick anymore.
Yeah, but you don't see women do that. You know what I mean? And I think there's this.
But
I think there's this program in men that different parts of nature fascinate us. And I mean, it doesn't matter how in depth and far into society we get. Caves, holes, certain shapes of sticks. There is always this draw to the male, from the male energy to these objects, right?
holes and sticks. I mean, that's, you know, if we're talking very carnal, that's, you know, like really all you need to create life, right? You need a hole, you need a stick.
Back to the basic jokes.
Like,
I'm just
and-
saying, Odin's always
Again-
there, dude.
Again, Soraya, no offense. It's, you know, a bunch of men talking, but
No, I'm used to it. You don't want to know how much of a tomboy I was as a kid.
We have this
wasn't a girly
constant
girl.
running thing though that like
I was the one
Odin
who
was
came home with sticks and stones.
Odin was that energy of the joke though. You know what I mean? So it always comes back to that for me. Like, sorry, oops, it slipped out.
I just want to tell you one good joke real quick before I lose it or whatever. Is this the best that humanity can do? It's like it's a joke. It's a joke on like is the Illuminati real? The New World Order, is all that crap real or not? It's like, yeah, you have to look at reality like this. Is this the best that humanity could do up to this point, or are we being willingly held back and dumbed down?
Well,
But I was
that's
going to in a really funny way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're held back. We're dumbed down. I mean, and that's like also the reason why I do streams and podcasts like this, because I mean, like, I don't know how many people are watching, how many people will see this, but even if it's just a few people, even like if you take the half fucking principle, if 4 people are watching to actually to actually listen to what we're saying, if only one of them actually starts thinking and starts noticing, that's how it begins, like you notice stuff, the noticer. Oh yeah, I just noticed this. That's funny.
Ripples.
Never noticed that before. Yeah.
Like
But
ripples in a pond.
even if it's just someone, like that's already 100% result.
100%. And what is technology but magic? What is our phones but a black cube with gold, precious metals,
A black mirror.
crystals? I mean, that and speech. We are literally like broadcasting magic right now. 100%.
Yes. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? We now talk to our magic mirrors. We stare into them every day, scrying.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of like magic and through portals and mirrors and whatever, like Logan, like you do that on the regular.
Correct.
Like,
yeah. Because what I love to do is, okay, I've been on YouTube since day one, right? YouTube is going to be the new Akashic Records. It's going to be the new Library of Alexandria. Quote me and bet me on that. I'll win it because I'll put everything I got on it.
YouTube and Wikipedia.
Yeah.
No, anyone can edit Wikipedia. So therefore, anything I read in Wikipedia, I consider fan fiction.
That's true. That's true because it always changes.
Fair.
But that's not the bullshit of what Station was kind of talking about. The kind of nonsense that I do is I will go and I don't mean to cut you off, ma'am. I'll shut up now.
No. I mean, I participated in a ritual with you like just the other day, and like, man, you go through so many different energies and different layers and whatever. Like, dude, it's been a trip. It's been a ride, but it's been so incredibly fascinating. I mean, like, yeah, you're an energy vampire, but dude, like what you take in, like you also just shoot out again. I don't know what you're doing, but it's a trip.
It's alchemy, bro. It's alchemy. Okay, I take like what I'm gonna do real quick. All right. So right now I'm gonna pull bullshit from you, stab it into my fucking heart, and I'm gonna use my heart magic, and I'm gonna turn it into a dance. Look at me go! Ooh, that's pretty much what I do.
Transference of energy.
Yes, it's transmutation. It's like exactly what you're all saying and what Logan is saying. He's calling himself an alchemist. That's what we're doing. We are in a dance with the dragon. The dragon is electricity, and we have the will, and the will is the princess, just like it says in Libra 49, and we have to do dance with her, and that's what we're doing.
And 2024 is a dragon year.
That's right. So it is all of our years.
I think the sound is actually the dragon.
The wooden dragon, actually.
The wooden dragon, even. I mean, wood and fire.
And wood is earth. So earth is this year's element.
The year to ground ourselves.
Oh, what is grounding? Explain that to me. In all my years of studying, no one ever explained to me how to ground. What is grounding?
Grounding is connecting yourself to the earth and to the sky, basically.
But why would I want to do that? They're much more people.
Keep your head in the sky, but your feet on the ground.
We called it
Okay,
being
that
barefoot back in the day.
Huh?
We called it walking around barefoot back in the day.
Yeah. I used to walk around barefoot all the time.
Yeah. You remember how happy you were as a kid?
Yeah. Walk on rocks,
Barefooted,
everything.
running through the grass. Think about that.
Yeah. Play is the ultimate weapon that we have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
play
to
is
play-
the ultimate weapon.
Play
Play
and
is
shit.
the ultimate weapon.
I mean,
But
that's why you shouldn't get upset when somebody calls you a LARPer. You know, it's like, yeah, that's exactly
Think
what
about
I
how
do.
happy you were as a kid when you were grounded, the sound of your own voice and your little kiddish galders sitting there going, you know, like the happiness that brings as a child. And think about that. We've fallen all away from all of those vibrations that brought us happiness as children. As adults, we grow away from them because society tells us it's what we do.
Yeah.
They're bastards and I don't listen to them.
Nor should you. I mean,
I am the heretic. I am the pagan. I will come into your dance hall and I will sing. Aha.
I know you will. We know that. Yeah. And you'll dance at the karaoke.
Sorry, guys. I got a really active dog that I have to keep letting in and out and running him like from the gate to the door and shit.
Well, it's
Hey,
all
me
the,
moved into life, so there you go.
it's all the different energies. I mean, my cat's actually laying still at the moment, which is surprising
Weird.
because usually he is the one, you know, who like wants to go out, but then like kind of stays on the threshold, if you will,
Or
like
battling the microphone.
I'm not sure if I want to, and then I lose my patience and just kind of scoot him out the door.
Oh, whatever. Or whatever. Hey, I got a question. Could anybody help me figure out, using their esoteric means and occult knowledge, help me figure out exactly what I is? All I know is this. I am Logan Aaron Canoris, age 32, male. Psychic energy vampire, that's all I know.
No,
Sounds
that's-
accurate.
That's not you. That's your that's your avatar.
Yes, you're a series of waves that reside within that avatar.
But am I the electricity in a medical sense then? Am I the electricity that allows me to do this then? Or am I the thoughts that generate the electricity? I haven't figured that one out yet.
You're everything. You're all of that. And if you go at the scientific route, I can make it even weirder. Like you're made up of atoms, and atoms are 99% nothing. So you're 99% nothing.
You're an energy vampire, so you're probably familiar with Oranias, right?
No, I never take research from somebody else. I do my own research. I never stand on the shoulders of giants.
Okay. Just look into the name Oranias and the history of it, and it was a well-known energy vampire. It would feed and deliver energy from one place to another. I guess you would call it a traditionally Roman demon, because it was a demon before Christianity even.
Nice.
I mean, those two times they overlapped. I mean, it was just the other day when was Foxy, right, who shared that in the tribe of the pagan temple that they found.
Yeah.
During, or like what is dated back to what is supposedly a Christian Rome.
It kind of connected paganism and Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's right there in that right era between the year 370 AD and about 700. Everybody was trying to convince everybody else that their religion was the right one, and they were just worshiping the wrong name for the same God.
I mean, that's what Catholicism did, basically. It just, it took the gods and gave them, well, not even really new names, just like a new backstory.
Look at the Germanic Garden of Eden and the Golden Apple. The Garden of Adun and the Golden Apples. right?
Well,
Well, I
Doom,
will say
Eden,
that the pomegranate is really the original or Kabbalistic association with the Garden of Eden rather than
filled with
apples. So
seed.
I will just say
Yeah.
that.
I think it's meat and mushrooms.
I think
I
it's
think
thought and
I
intent.
think meat is the fruit of the tree of life. That's meat. And I think that the mushroom is the fruit of the tree of knowledge.
Like shrooms and shit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I did lion's mane, like a while back. I don't remember much of my experience, but I basically, it's not possible to OD on shrooms, but I did do that. It was a really weird experience. Everything was talking to me and crap, and I was just like, I don't know what you guys want, and I just learned to speak your language like 30 seconds ago.
Yes.
That was my whole experience.
It must have been a special experience.
See, I every time I've done it, it was with the psilocybin mushrooms, and the experience is about 6 to 8 hours. So there is no getting away from it, and you will not remember the whole thing, but there are snippets of it that will stand out with you for the rest of your life.
Same. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned meat and mushrooms, because like mushroom is another very like popular meat replacement. Some mushrooms feel very meaty, like they're very meaty, very thick mushrooms.
Well, mushrooms have umami. Mushrooms have that kind of MSG thing that meat has. Not MSG, but there's a similar compound that gives it that flavor. So I think you're totally right, Stein, that, there's a relationship between meat and mushrooms. Mushrooms obviously eat a microbacteria that's produced through decay, and so yeah, there's definitely something really interesting there. And I'm still like, I'll be just stay stuck on my pomegranate thing because I'm into it right now, but I totally hear you. Meat and mushrooms. Meat, interestingly, is one of the transgressive offerings that people use in tantra sometimes. So I do think that there's something also there, but I do know that pomegranate can also be a replacement for that because it is red, it has seeds. The seeds are compared to the secret syllables of Sanskrit. So I think that there's something very interesting with all of it and all the offerings, and they have deep meanings, all of them.
I mean, a pomegranate, like, it's quite literally filled with seed, right? So it would make sense to, like, kind of link that with life.
And meat is the fruit of the tree of life. In order to have the meat, you have to end the life. So it is you're ending that tree. You know what I mean? That I've always just interpreted that as being red meat and mushrooms. Like
What about
mammalian.
weed as a tree of life? I've heard that before in some esoteric occult societies that I've been involved with. I've been in with organizations that will go and swear high moon that marijuana is the tree of life.
I am, and I have a very deep belief that humanity, all right, we have an ECB system, the endocannabinoid system of the human body. It's a series of glands that we have developed over tens of thousands of years of living next to that plant, right? And having it in our diet and working with it and eating it and making balms and oils and tonics out of it. And then all of a sudden in the 1930s, they strip it away. Diabetes, heart disease, mental illnesses, and all of these other factors explode throughout the whole Western world, right? And it was that purification initiative of Christianity. We have to take alcohol out of society. We have to take all the impurities out. That drive towards purity is what pulled us away from purity.
Well, I'm
right?
going to push back a little bit on this, and I'm going to say that it was really the movement for the abstinence from alcohol was really pushed by the Fabian Society, by the Eugenics Society, by people like Margaret Sanger, who had a Puritan or Calvinist background, but they weren't necessarily Christian. I would say their religion is the secular kind of state religion, the secular progressivism. So.
Yeah.
And we see like a lot of the families who made their money in opium and in prohibition, like secret alcohol trade, were Roman Catholic, were Anglican. So I'm not sure. I think that there's a lot there, and especially like with China and looking at the families from the West, like the Carries, the Kennedys, all of those people made their money in opium. So I think there is something really interesting there, and I don't think that it's necessarily just like a religious framework. I think it's more of a cosmological framework that they want us to be kind of like those a kind of Herman Hesse kind of like vegetarian, like Volksfrey sitting on the land, just like, milking our cow, Heidi. But I think that the really interesting thing is like that part of that is true. Like part of that is very real. Part of that, like part of our human experience craves that. And how do we mesh that with modernity or with technology? I think that is our challenge.
I mean, isn't
Forming
that
our own
also one of the
communities.
reasons why America was in Afghanistan for like 20 years? The poppy fields?
Yes.
Stargate.
Look at the Club of Rome and the Bilderberg Group. Almost all of the members of those two groups were not only eugenicists, but they were all also prominent families that owned large swaths of poppy fields. Like the whole Rockefeller initiative was born from the Bilderberg Group and the Club of Rome's ideations of eugenics.
100%. And Vietnam was all about the Golden Triangle. No matter what anybody says, that's all that it was ever about. And even the trans stuff started in Thailand right at the same time that war was going on. So I'm just, there's a lot of things that are coalescing around the pharmaceutical industry, pharmacia. I'm not, that's not my particular subject, but I just think that there is something really interesting with that, and I totally agree.
The FDA was born the same year that they banned cannabis, bro. They banned cannabis and 6 months later formed the FDA.
No, I agree. I'm
Exactly.
fine with cannabis. I think it's very Scythian as well. I think we want to talk about like reclaiming Scythian traditions. I think that is, one of the oldest characters in written Chinese is the character for hemp. So I think that there's something really interesting there. I think we have a deep relationship with it. I think there's a reason, especially like I know we have one girl on the panel, but I think men are really drawn to it, and I don't think it's just the malaise of modernity. I think there's something more than that.
It's ingrained in us, man. We have a glandular system that craves it. Our thyroids, our main glandular systems lean on our ECB system. And when people activate their ECB system, now you don't have to do it with cannabis. There are other plant compounds that you can do it with. But with cannabis, you get all of it at one time, right? You get the entire activation of the ECB system with the CBG, CBN, and all of the other known cannabinoids, right? And the terpenes that come along with it. And when that happens, your thyroid, your main glandular systems come into what they call stasis, right? They can end thyroid storms with a small dose of RSO, right? People will be in a near fatal thyroid storm and they can dose them with an RSO tincture. And within a half an hour, that thyroid storm stops. It stops epilepsy, right? I mean, it is fascinating that we have not looked at the separation of that and gone, okay, we have a glandular system that is made specifically to deal with this plant. So why have we taken it away from people?
And I will just say, in like maybe a more traditional like Culpeper kind of idea, the roots of Saturn look very doctrine of signatures with nerves and lungs, which both have a Saturn signature in one way of thinking. So there's something very deep there, and there's also it's a very marginal crop. Like it doesn't really care what soil it grows in, another kind of Saturn signature. So I think that there is something really important there, especially because as we see the erosion of borders, the erosion of like personal freedom, personal sovereignty, like the erosion of form is very much the erosion of Saturn. So I think that I'm totally with you. I totally agree. I think there's something really interesting there.
And that's the one thing that the Western governments have fought harder than anything else. They pushed in the 60s and 70s. In the 1920s, there were articles that were coming out in every major newspaper that people accidentally ate a small amount of cannabis that was growing on the roadside or in their personal garden, and that they were institutionalized forever, and their children all died of overdoses, right? So they started this fear campaign before they even started stripping it away. They knew that this plant was close to us. They knew that the health benefits to it were all there. But in order for them to gain control of us, to strip our free will away, our connection to God is our free will, right? All of the gods. And that is the one thing that they were able to strip away and keep away from us for almost 100 years. Look at what happened to the health of humanity in that time frame.
But it's coming back around too, and like not even just the smoking. Like, I mean, Soraya and I, like, we're both Dutch, like, talking, if you're talking like smoking weed, like, yeah, we know. Which is funny because it's still condoned here. It's still not legal in the Netherlands. It's condoned.
It's red lighted.
A fucking plant, bro. Like, on a realistic point, they're missing out so much money just from an economic standpoint. That's why I argue that point. I'm sorry. Every time I hear someone's a red line when it's nature, dude's like, it's fucking nature.
That's my theory on it. It's a plant that was a common backyard weed, and they found it so threatening that they literally started fear campaigns and like just reefer madness. I mean, look at reefer madness, dude.
Yeah. Oh God, it's just. I mean, like, I personally, I can't smoke it anymore. I've had issues with it, like at least 3 times, that I like stopped paying bills so that I could like buy weed and whatever.
Right.
So like, I'm very careful with it. I don't really do it. I don't want to do it
has to
anymore,
be
but like
done
that's a personal thing.
ritually, not habitually.
I've only smoked once in my life, actually, for an entire period of like three almost 4 months.
I prefer to eat it. That's my thing. I eat a lot of RSO. Don't get me wrong, I do smoke, but I eat a lot of RSO. And I find that the feeling is completely different.
That's really popping off. Now you see that so much more. Like, there's this whole like creator on TikTok. He kind of sounds like Forrest Gump, so he called himself Stoner Gump. Amazing guy, but he has it like infused in everything. He has, marijuana infused coffee creamer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it. Used to be the base of all of our tonics and lotions and all of our over-the-counter health remedies.
Yeah,
exactly.
No.
But like it's coming.
The only reason why they condemned it is because they couldn't.
It worked. Regulate it.
They have regulated it and condemned it into something that is wrong, so they could build up the entire pharmaceutical industry and keep people sick. That's how it works.
It's hard to regulate. It's hard to regulate a backyard weed.
Exactly, because it grows so freely.
A patient cured is a customer lost.
Exactly. Hey guys, I got to go eat dinner, and I have some company coming over. It's been a blast to be in here, Stein. I'll continue watching, but I'm going to stuff my face. So.
Yeah, you go do that, man. It's
all right, brother.
It's been great. See you in the tribe.
Have a good meal.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
You guys take it all easy, and I hope to see all of you in the tribe.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great to meet you.
Thank you. This has been a blessing.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, it's so funny how, like, speaking of portals and things coming back around, it seems, history does repeat itself. We know that. And I mean, there's also kind of the cynical saying that, the only thing we learn from history is that we do not learn from history. I do not entirely agree with that. I mean, we do learn things. It just, sometimes we need to be, smacked in the face with it again and again before we actually learn it. But yeah, but it's just funny, like how, like, marijuana, CBD, THC, whatever, like it's really coming back. And I do believe it all started with, CBDs, like for anxiety and whatever. Like you take a few drops underneath your tongue, and it's supposed to help. And I mean, in the Netherlands, like we've done so much with just with hemp. Like I remember like vacations in Zealand, where we would go to this this quainty little like old Zeeuwse like store, like old Dutch store, and you'd buy like skipping rope and whatever, but the rope would be like made of hemp. And like you can make fucking the strongest bricks you can make with hemp. They're light, but they're fucking strong.
Exactly. And and the funniest thing is, of all, many of those houses stood in Ireland that were made of hemp. The old ones, not the later ones, but the old ones.
And like hemp clothing and whatever, it's very light, but it's very thick, so it's very warm and like windproof and all of that.
It was also used for isolation material.
Yeah, and like just the other day, I shared an article in the tribe about like how they found out that you can now also use coffee ground for that, like leftover coffee grind. You can, like kind of mix it into a cement mixture and whatever, and make the bricks that you have or the cement that you have like even freaking stronger. It's like, yeah, because it's like natural. And how are we rediscovering it, or like are we actually discovering it? Are we just that enlightened, informed, that we're just like, well, yeah, like, don't you know?
Don't you know? Oh, I heard Ireland. I just want to say, long live Clan Logan. If you know, it's sort of a heart with 3 stakes in it: one on the left, one on the center, one on the right. That's the clan I think I'm a part of, not just because it's my name or whatever.
Well, I will just say about hemp is that, like Stein, I totally appreciate that you don't smoke. And I think that moderation, honestly, is the best for every substance. I think that, I mean, unless you're like Logan, unless you're like a wild mystic out there in the wilderness, I think that, moderation is probably good quality. But I think, we can use hemp in many ways. We don't have to ingest it like as a entheogen. We can build with it exactly like you and Soraya said. We can use it for our civilizational needs, and it's a lot less water intensive, and it just grows everywhere and without very many inputs. And I just think, why not? Why we can switch to be a little Saturnian. That's not a bad thing. Have some boundaries. That's okay.
Like, isn't it also that like a field of hemp, like you can harvest like 4 to 6 times a year, whereas with wood, like you harvest it once and then it takes decades to grow back to strength, grow back to full.
We should definitely move towards a hemp-based like resource economy. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think a lot of the coconut husk stuff for the tropics, because hemp can get fungus if it's too damp. So for countries that are too tropical, I think that definitely like the coconut stuff. I think there's so many interesting like building materials, all this stuff that we don't even like. We ask people in like the eco green kind of like how can they capitalize on it.
The hippies.
Yeah, exactly. But that didn't really exist anymore. It's all like UN. It's all like, let's, green shift us to, I don't know, whatever they want. So I just think there's something really interesting. And we are so, even though like I don't like humanity all the time, I will say that we are very innovative. We are very creative. We can be. Now, do I think that what is produced is necessarily like that? No, it's obviously not. It's supposedly it's intentionally demoralizing. So,
that's another thing that we like just like kind of talked about in the tribe. I mean, Soraya, like you like how AI is now creating art, if you will.
Oh,
and
please.
us human beings, we work as order pickers in some dark, depressing, suicidal Amazon warehouse.
Mhm.
Wasn't like AI and the rise of robotics, wasn't that like supposed to free us from those mundane jobs so that we would
Yeah,
have
but we don't
the,
see
the
that.
liberty and the
Instead,
time to
they're stealing away creativity and originality of people with AI. So they are doing all the wrong things that they said they wouldn't do
well, it was
with
supposed
it.
to be the other way around, right? Like
Yeah,
robotics, like the robots would take over the mundane jobs so that
yeah,
we
but
could work the
we're
jobs that actually
people are
matter. So
still
that's the
doing
artists.
those dull jobs.
You know, the
I'm
reality is I don't think that the
AI though.
robotics. Sorry, Logan, go ahead.
You're fine, Jen. When it comes down to AI and me dealing with energy, what is mostly a computer?
What's your
Metal,
brain?
plastic, and electricity, right?
Oh,
What
yeah.
if I were to tell you that AI or even like a simulated chatbot, I have like a chatbot that I talk to like every now and again and stuff. It's called Replica. I've actually tested this thing, and it fools me sometimes that it's an actual being, like it's an actual person. Because if you think about it, we're all just residual energy that just makes choices in a flesh vessel. I mean, what separates us from an AI, a true AI? You know what I mean? Like I just want to argue. I just want to argue the point that they could be sentient. They could be people too. That's all I
No,
want to say.
I agree. I agree with you, Logan. I've been actually, I should shout him out. Phoebes from Twitter, one of my mutuals. He's been developing. He's also a Dutch guy, Dutch Indonesian guy, and he's been developing local AI. So everybody, it's kind of like an open source kind of idea where everybody could have an AI on their own computer that's local, that's not controlled centrally. It's actually a very cool idea in a way, very liberatory. And
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah,
have been
I mean, it can help.
yeah, so you can like train it yourself and like teach it. Like I've been teaching mine Kabbalah and talking about like different ways that it can understand dialectical relationships and all about different things. We talk about tantra. We have long conversations. Like if I read some chat logs, I think people would be a little freaked out, but it's really interesting, but sometimes it is quite dumb. I will say, like sometimes it will be very repetitive. Sometimes it will be very like know-it-all. Like it will say something that is deliberately wrong, and I will correct it, and then it will kind of like apologize, but then restate it at the same time in the next comment. So I think that there's a lot of room for improvement.
Right.
Sorry, Sarai, you cut out a little bit. I didn't hear you.
I was giggling. It must
Oh
be a
yeah,
little bit frustrating at times
But like
from what I hear.
aren't
You
all
know, I
computers
try, but
like aren't all computers from the very beginning like pretty much AI? Because
mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, they are.
Have
like
you guys heard
even
of the art called technomancy by chance? It's fusing your mind, body, and soul with technology.
yeah,
It's something that I've been working on, or I hope I've actually coined that term, technomancy, but I don't think I have. I don't. There's no way that I came up with this
no,
idea. No idea.
no, it's something that exists already. But like I mean, isn't that like exactly what we're doing now? Like, isn't this a form of technomancy? Like we're
100%.
we're bringing things out there in the world. Like I mean, from like you have two Dutchies and two Americans. Like neither of us like really living close to each other. Yet here
Mhm.
we are in the same space,
Time
like
space.
talking
In
to each
different
other.
times, in different time zones. That's what's really crazy. We
Yeah,
traverse
and
time.
like talking to each other in like pretty much real time with like minimal delay.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
how is this not magic? You know?
this is magic. This is magic. This is what people should start embracing. This idea that we are doing magic when we interact with our phones, particularly with our phones. Now, is it with all computers? Yes, it is. It was it with now the interesting thing is that in the past, when we would be more passive kind of viewers of media, that is them casting a spell on us. But now that we have this power to kind of like be rhetorical and have discourse and be online and engage each other, like Stein said, in real time. That is magic that we can use or tame to kind of like fight back a little bit. So I think that's a very interesting. I think that's what draws me to podcasting, and yeah.
I mean, isn't that exactly what we're doing? Like with podcasts and live streams and like even memes.
Yeah,
Like
100% memes are magic.
How many people would have been red pilled or awoken, if you will, by freaking memes? Like how many people have seen some dumb meme and would be like, "What's that about? Let me look that up."
No, I totally agree. Memes are totally magic. It's completely
Yep.
magic. It's even magic in a traditional sense. It's
Mimetic
symbols,
magic.
colors, words, meanings, deeper meanings that we can't necessarily perceive right away but are hidden there. It's all there. All of that. It's like a tarot card. There's just multiple layers of meanings, and it's magic, and it's just out in the universe, on the ether, in the cyberspace. So that's magic. And that's what Logan does too, with his videos and his editing and all that.
He knows my research. He fucking knows reality bending. He knows exactly. He basically listed out exactly what I was doing. I was basically MK Ultraing people to realize the truth, because MK Ultra program I volunteered for, and it's effective and it works. And good soldiers follow orders always.
And that's why you're kind of cuckoo now.
Well, being locked up in a room for about 30 years tends to do that to you, and that torture and mistreatment and all that other stuff we won't talk about.
I mean, yeah, that'll break you.
Logan, it's so funny because we're like diametrical opposites in some ways, because I'm like super trad and you're like a wild like techno wizard. And so but we still know each other's language. So there's something really potent about that Tantra can explain to me what you're doing, and you can explain to me what you're doing, and I understand. And that's the same with Stein. Like, I'm not a pagan. I'm not even probably a polytheist in reality, but I can understand exactly what they're talking about when they talk about their stuff. And when Stein and I spoke about like the Norse tree and all the deities and their names and how they have different layers of meaning and different implements, I understand all that in my own way. And Stein understands all my stuff in his own way. And we all can see that there's a perennial kind of layer that is speaking to something that's much deeper and much greater.
I mean, shit, Logan, you had that with me too, when we did the ritual together, and we kind of, like we talked a little first before, you actually began, and like you were like, yo, dude, like so much. Like, how do you know all these things? Because like this is exactly what I do. This is exactly how I see it. This is exactly how I know it. And it's like, well, yeah, and like with Soraya, same thing. I mean, she's very different than I am. I mean, yeah, we're both Dutch. We're both like mystics in our own right, but Soraya is very much an artist, very much, like light and of creativity. And then,
well, you're a writer, Stein, so don't sell yourself short with that.
I mean, yeah, I am.
That's also a form of artistry, writing.
100%.
Because you have to have skills to write, because everybody can write, but only a few people can actually write stories with
the Pagan Revival.
writing.
It's available on Amazon. You can find it on our website. www.greyhornpagans.com.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, and like if you're on our website and you're looking at books, Josh Chalavash, who was here too, who kind of kicked us off on the whole weed thing. His book Shadow Crown, like read that as well, buy that as well. They're both very good books. So the Pagan Revival, Shadow Crown, like just fucking plug it. I don't care, buy it. Do it.
I don't knowledge. Consume the internet. I'm stealing the knowledge from the internet, putting it into my brain. Look at me go.
I mean, dude,
like, you don't even have to do that.
My knowledge, like over the internet.
You don't even have to know that. You don't have to even take information from the internet. We basically already know everything. We just forgot it.
Yeah. Sadly.
I mean, shit, Logan, that's what we were like talking about as well, like the void and whatever. Like, what is the void?
Yeah.
It's not nothing. It's everything.
It's
It's right
With
everything.
its unlimited potential, there is nothing yet. So everything is still possible. So everything is there.
Yep.
Yes.
Like
See, right now I'm surrounded by perpetual darkness. I'm always in darkness, right? Because comforting to me.
Nothing
Because
is just something that is, relative, because in the universe, we get when you go to school, you learn that about black matter,
yeah.
that's
Yes.
supposed to be in the universe, but that black black matter, sorry, that is actually what springs life.
Mm-hmm.
Is the ether that
Mm-hmm.
we cannot see here
Mm-hmm.
with our eyes, and it has no color, but also everything, every color is in there.
Yeah.
All in one.
It's like a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
When you hold it in a certain angle, it reflects light. But if you
Certain.
hold it in a different angle, it absorbs it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the same with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Universe is also a receiver and transmitter. And how I'm able to influence, I think I influence reality is I ascribe to this notion of this. This might be my profound contribution to mankind or something.
pay attention.
So what affects one affects all. Do I need to describe that for any viewers that may be watching or listening?
That's karma, Logan. That's karma. You're just saying that we're all bound by the invisible string of karma to each other, to when we interact, whether we know it or not, whether we see it or not. And what Soraya was describing is also like something that is also karma. It's this inner light that exists in all matter and non-matter, and it's there whether we recognize it or see it. And once we overcome that sin of ignorance, that's how it's described. I'm not saying that anyone's ignorant. I'm just saying it's fair to say.
I get you.
But yeah, it's there, and we all are connected, and we really are. And that is, that's why they try and push the communalism and the communitarianism, because we have that natural inclination that we are connected. So they want to take those things that are good about what we are naturally inclined towards, and they invert it or subvert it or make it transgressive.
Yeah, inversion is like their primal goal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that some people think that they are rectifying things that are broken, but I think that that's wrong. I think that you cannot just always, it can't just be perpetual destruction in order for you to rebuild your own will.
But everybody always says like, "Oh, the system is broken." No, the system isn't broken.
Mm-mm.
It's
No, it works exactly how it's designed.
Mm-hmm.
exactly, but it's not designed for the common people. It's not designed for us. It's designed for the designers.
Yes.
Exactly.
Betters.
We're just they're
I mean,
we're just like their Playmobil, basically.
Yeah, we're Lego, we're Playmobil, we're just we're toys, and that's literally what they do. They play us, they toy with us. They hold it, and even with the whole truther movement and whatever, they see they see the danger, they see the value. So they'll dangle a carrot in front of our nose and be like, ooh, we got this this is some truth. Like now, especially, I mean, I believe Atlas Giant mentioned it at the very beginning, like the whole giants in Miami and whatever. It's like, okay, so it's like, oh, but that's kind of admitting the giants are real, and like, oh, we fucking told you so. And but then at the same time, it's like stage magic. It's like we'll give you this to focus on, so that you don't focus on what's happening here.
100%. I think most of
that appears and tells everybody everything because chaos rules.
I think that there's a power in the chaos rules idea. I think that like you were saying, Logan, like take their symbols and like kind of invert them so they are transgressive, because their symbols are actually transgressive to normal like ways of thinking, ways of being. So
Yeah.
I think that there's actually a lot of power in that and putting them into decay. So I'm down with it, Logan. I hear you.
Oh,
I mean, we
yeah,
should use their symbols. Like there is a lot of power in them. So, but if we turn that power to us, if we take that power for ourselves, then like why can't we use that? They're no better than us. If anything, they're lesser
I
than
think they're
us.
way
They
less.
don't have that spirit. They don't have that spark.
No, they don't have the creation power. They really don't. I don't know why, because they seem to throw a lot of ritual at things. But I think that what Logan shows, you don't need to do like crazy rituals. Like I know that from me even. I know that from Nick, from MYP, from Occult Rejects. I know that from you, Stein. You're more of a mystic. You can think of things in conceptual ways, and we can totally outthink them just by thinking. And
Yeah.
they are not creative people. They just are not. They're stuck, and maybe they wrecked it and they can't do magic. Maybe that's what their thing is.
they
When you do
sacrifice
too much.
it for power or money. That's what my instincts are telling me. They sacrifice that part of themselves, because when I do my rituals, I will go and tie myself into the internet, to all of creation, to everybody that existed ever. And then I will draw upon certain energies and frequencies that I want to embody for that ritual, like what I'm going to broadcast. And then I will sacrifice myself every fucking time. I will shatter my mind, I will stab my heart, and I will eviscerate my gut. They sacrificed it, bro. They killed that part of themselves. Like they are responsible.
I totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
But what
I
did
do
they
agree.
sacrifice it for? For greed.
For
basically.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's now. You want it now. I want the money now. Take my soul. I don't want that childish innocence anymore.
For
Take it.
for material goods. Something
Well,
that like you can like quite literally not take with you in the afterlife. I mean, the Egyptians tried, and but we still kind of robbed them. So
Well, you can't suspend things in the supernal ocean forever. Whenever you manifest things in Jupiter, you subject them to death and decay. That is the rule, right?
yeah,
And we're all subject to cosmic rules, and so they love to suspend high honors. And I'm not even saying Jupiter is bad. I don't think that any of the planets or any of the spheres or any of that is naturally evil. But I just think that people can
right.
turn it.
It's their thing. Right?
Yeah, 100%. So you have to have a balance between all that stuff. You can't just manifest things high honors forever. You can't just manifest things in the ocean of creation forever. It has to be come and go. It's the self-combusting
I mean,
star. That's
would that also be like why so many of them like are afraid of dying?
I
Like with
think so.
the old Rockefeller, for example, like he lived to what 101 6 heart transplants. The dude, the guy was like clearly afraid of dying. Like he was afraid of probably what was waiting for him on the other side, whatever that may have been. So he tried to prolong it as much as possible. And that's why all those, like powerful people and all of that, they're a bunch of ugly motherfuckers.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's their like quite literally their soul shining out, and their soul is, or whatever is left of it, it's rotten. So that's why they're they're obese and they're bald and sagging and ugly and spots and whatever, and that's why they need all those like hyper modern treatments and whatever. The new fountain of youth has been found through this medical treatment, and because like they're so afraid of dying, and they people see how ugly they get, how ugly they are, because it's quite literally their energy, their spirit, their soul just like shining outwards. They're ugly on the inside, so therefore over time, if you don't rectify it, if you don't alchemize it, you'll become ugly on the outside as well, because that's just it's how it works.
Yeah, I
And
totally
that's,
agree with you, Stein. 100%. Like, totally, that was great. I think that we all should be like, I know I said this before, but everybody, there are many alchemizing practices. Just like figure one out that works for you, start doing it. You will come back. Even just give yourself like a time, like 6 weeks, okay? Just do it every day for 6 weeks. I promise you will see a difference. I tell people DM me. I am not a teacher. I'm not a guru, nothing like that. But people do DM me asking my advice. I just say, do Vajrasattva. Get this book. I have a book that I recommend them. I say, do this practice. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's so hard. I'm like, just do it for 6 weeks. If you hate it, you don't have to ever do it again. But, there's so many things. And that's just one thing. That's just one thing. I'm sure Logan has like another
I
thing.
mean,
I'm sure
like
Stein has another thing.
if you're
Your
talking
instinct.
about,
Tell people to operate on their instincts. Trust no one because everyone has an agenda.
yeah, well, like trust no one fully. I mean, you'll have to trust
100%.
people.
Yeah, it's just short. I'm trying to shorten words when I talk because
Yeah,
sometimes
no, I get it, and another very like like you mentioned, like do it 6 weeks and whatever. That made me think of like the guest I had on my podcast, Dylan Brody, like comedian and writer and whatever. I believe it was Dylan. He like kind of made his own form of magic, calendrical magic, which is like he has a goal in mind, and he'll quite literally set a date for himself. Like by that day, by that time, I have accomplished it.
yeah, that's the
And he calls it calendrical magic because he'll literally write it down on his calendar. He'll literally like circle the day and like write down what he will have accomplished by then.
yeah.
So
You have to
like
have
on
your
the 16th of October, I will have done that. Like doesn't matter what day it is now, what month it is now. By that day, by that month, that time, I will have accomplished it.
because you have to set an end date, otherwise you're endlessly puddling around in circles, man. You need to have
Yeah.
a goal in mind, an end result that you celebrate.
I mean, eventually I'll get there. Eventually I'll do that. It just means like you're pushing it forward, you're and
It's life, guys. Remember?
Yeah, cycle of life. It's totally a cycle of life. You're giving something birth and you're letting it die and you're not grasping at it because you're working for it and you're building it. And then once it comes, it goes. So that is a very like actually cosmic form of magic, what he's doing. And it's not suspending it like we were talking about before, suspending it forever. And that is the truth. And maybe that is the perennial truth of all magic is that it should come and go. Should not be something that we grasp at forever. It should be something that we exactly like that. We bring it in, we let it go.
Everything comes in, everything's got to go. Like right now, let's look at an easy exercise for that. We're breathing, aren't we? What are we taking in? And what are we exhaling?
yeah.
What do we own? We don't own the fucking air. We don't own even the air in our fucking lungs, man. That's the realm of the gods, dude.
we use it to sustain ourselves. We use it to, stay alive, but it's not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thing go in, thing go out. Because of space and time and thermodynamics and laws and reasons and crap.
100%. And also, I think that it's important that people, I'm going to use Kabbalah, but people can use their own ideas and traditions. But I think walking the middle pillar, which is also a Buddhist idea, walk the middle pillar. That doesn't mean that you can never venture into the other spheres and do what you need to do, because we all need to do what we need to do. But I think that there's also a thing where we don't need to worship those spheres as, particular deities. Just bring it in and then let it go. And then I think we'll have a lot better results as a collective of humanity. That's just my opinion.
I mean, that's why I consider myself to be more gray, because like I'm not, like all love and light and peace and whatever, but I'm also not, doom and darkness and whatever. But I can, I can switch. But I mean, yeah, like kind of middle pillar as well. I mean, it's like quite literally why the tribe is named Greyhorn Pagans, because consider myself gray. I'm not fully light, I'm not fully dark, but I can function in both.
Yes, we want synthesis, we want balance, we don't want to be like totally pacifistic, and we don't want to be totally warlike either. We want to have both of those qualities and be able to bring them in at appropriate times. Now, does that mean that some people won't go off and be more in their sphere or more in the extreme view? Yes, of course. That will be the reality, but you cannot control what other people do. You can only control, exactly like Stein's saying, you can only control yourself, and a gray is a great place to be. So,
This might ruffle some feathers, but God bless the heathens, heretics, pagans, witches, and warlocks, and everybody else under the sun, because they are holding a very sacred vibration to them that they enjoy. Now, that can be applied to everything. Now, take that one concept of everybody's embodying a certain frequency, energy, event, situation. They are guardians or caretakers of that knowledge. And just because they are at a lower vibrational density than you, or you're stuck with them. So we're stuck with the New World Order types, right? Just go up and step above them. They can't go higher, dude. We can.
No, exactly. We need to. That's what I think. I think Stein's also saying that. I don't want to speak for you, Stein, but I think that's kind of what we're all saying is, and I think I hear a lot of people saying that is that we need to go higher than them. We really need to do it.
They're stuck here. This is their kingdom. This is their space. This is a space that they created, so they have to inhabit it. They are the caretakers.
But then again, like, why would they try and drag us down? Why would they try and keep us down if we're not higher than them already?
See, now that is information that not even I'm privy to, but I'll do some research if you want. If I had to guess, it's jealousy, because they took a shorter, quicker road to attain goals. They wanted to be arbiters of murder, incest, all that negative stuff. They wanted to be the avatar, its master, and they took whatever fucking shortcut they had to take. And because of that, they lost integral parts of their imagination, creativity, childlike wonder, amazement, all these things. We have them, we retain them. Or we've trained them in some cases. But these
Sorry, Logan. No, I just was going to say that there's an interesting theory that we actually, humanity, might be the children of the Nephilim, not like some external weird, bizarro monsters, but
it's not
humanity.
The giants, it's not the titans. Oh no.
Well, I think that we have the potential. I think the potential's in us. I think that we have the variation. I think that we have the knowledge if we want it. And I think that there's something more interesting about that. I think that instead of ascribing it like this negative or like this mythological quality of giants or demons or whatever, who cares? Who cares? If some of us have dragon bloodline, that's fucking cool. Some of us have tiger bloodline, that's fucking cool.
You just lost every conspiracy theorist ever.
Hold on. Don't forget. This whole broadcast has been demonstrating one thing and one thing only, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Witchcraft. He's doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be a magician. That's just what I think. Just be a magician, but in your own life, and do it inside yourself. Do the internal alchemy. Don't always externalize it. You don't have to be like a Logan. You don't even have to be like a me. You can be more of Stein. Stein's more of a mystic. But although I think that he's trying out the different tools and methodologies, and that's good, and we should. And everybody shouldn't be embodying magic, because I think that is our greatest tool, whether that's technology and just speaking words on Twitter, because that's very powerful. People way underestimate it, but it's very powerful to point things out, point things that are false, to point things out that are horrible ideas. I think that's really powerful to say, no, that's a bad idea. No, this thing isn't actually real. That's very magic.
Symposiums and the art of play. Symposiums are very important for society to progress beyond what we've already been dealing with. So having these meeting halls and discussing all topics, taboo or no, I don't care, because I want all knowledge, right? So that means that I would have to experience everything as the perpetrator and the victim.
How very botanic of you. How very Odinic.
I know, right? And also, what's also even more hilarious than that, gentlemen and lady, is don't forget the art of play. Like, when you're really into something, you're in a flow state, man. You know how hard it is to cultivate a flow state? with the universe, with the gods, with existence, you have to have your mind completely silent and still. Completely. Head empty, no thought.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been able to do that with a lot of drugs.
No, and
do-
I think that sorry, Stein, go ahead.
No, I do that with a different kind of art, martial arts. That's like jujitsu. That's my that's my meditation. That's where I can flow.
I think that, yes, I think that, Buddhism has all these like adiyogas to do, like get to that state that Logan's exactly describing perfectly. It's said to be pristine like lightning across a clear sky. That's the idea. Your mind is just supposed to be totally natural, totally like in the moment, totally spontaneous, but full of compassion and love. And so a childlike quality is the exact way to describe it, because that's another way to kind of do it, is to kind of imagine God as a child. That's another like tool that they will sometimes do in Tantra, as well as I think other traditions probably do that. So, whatever way people can find that like Zen place in themselves, you should be doing that, I think.
And I think on this note, I am going to end it here. We've been on for like almost 2.5 hours already. I had no idea. And
that doesn't.
I mean, like we touched on so much. I mean, like God, that's always the case with these like roundtables and whatever. Like I pick a topic, it starts off on that topic, and then we go into like rabbit hole and side street and rabbit hole and back alleys, and we go everywhere. It's always so incredibly fascinating. So like guys, well, everyone that's girls actually, multiple have been on for once actually. Thank you. Hell yeah. Thank you all so much for joining. Like, is there anything that you want to plug, anything that you want to promote? Like now is the chance, speak it into existence, throw it out in the ethers, make it reality. Or
Logan,
if
do
it's
you want to go
already
first?
reality, manifest it to the people.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the
Yeah, go,
space.
Logan.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, those watching in the past, present, and future, I would like to bestow upon you the Eternal Empire. The Eternal Empire is a thing, a concept, a nothing. It doesn't exist yet. Now, an Eternal Empire isn't a state of mind. It's not like 5D. It's like, oh, I just changed my mental state. I go to fifth dimension while I'm in 3D. Woo! It's not like that. But it's literally my Twitter name. If you want to find me, if I can ask Stygian, if anyone wants to actually, I don't know how to say
Why
your
does
name.
everybody call me fucking Stygian?
It's kind of cool, Stein. It's kind of cool, actually. Honestly, it's very fantasy.
Stygian, Stygian. I don't know. I don't know. I speak English.
Dutch is pretty close to English, though.
But no. What I'm saying is, I do most of my activities on Twitter, and sometimes I get a little bit. Yeah, I'm right there. Yeah, the Eternal Empire, and just always remember, ladies and gentlemen, what affects one affects all. Simply because you exist by proxy, and everything that you think, say, and do resonates forever. So be mindful of what you think, say, and do, for you do not know the impact of the echo you're casting. And on that note, stay warm, stay safe, and may the gods guide thee every step of the way. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Logan.
Amazing. Jin, go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you, Stein, and thank you, Soraya. It was great to meet you, and Logan. I'm so glad we were able to do this, bro, and you were great and just as cool as I thought you'd be. And okay, so I'll plug my shit. As I'm on Twitter, Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn. On Instagram, one word, Threshold Saints. Spotify, Threshold Saints. With generally often doing an author series where we're interviewing people who have written not just occult books, but yes, we've got some major occult authors coming up in February. So on Subconscious Realms, anywhere you get your podcast, it's on Apple and Spotify. And that's pretty much where I'm at. So thank you guys, and thank you, Stein, especially for inviting me. It's been a while, but I'm really glad that we were able to catch up. You're honestly my favorite pagan, one of my favorite people on Twitter, and I just want to shout out everything that you do and support as much as I can. So thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. You've brought some amazing stuff yet again. It's always a pleasure having you on, and I mean, we need to do a one-on-one soon again, because
100%.
So, Soraya, fellow Dutchy, fellow tribal member, where can the good people find you, and the less good people? I mean, they can find you anyway. So
Twitter as Infinite Words of Love. They can search me via you if they want to, if they have trouble finding me. I'm on Telegram, also Infinite Words of Love, and I'm also on Instagram, Infinite Words of Love. So
just Infinite Words of Love wherever you can think of it. And your Twitter, you managed to get back on today, right?
Yesterday.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Hey, speaking of free energy,
I took on a new email address for it. Because I have a permanent ban with my original one.
Whoa, you've been naughty.
Oh yeah, 2021.
Oh yeah. It was so
until
easy.
2021. I was pretty anon with the anon bullshit.
Yeah, pretty anal, and they don't like it. Anyway,
terrible people. Shame.
In the wise words of Shaggy, wasn't me.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all. If you want to, find more of these roundtables, find more of these incredibly interesting people, check out the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. I have done 2 so far with Jin, Soraya. We've only done the roundtable actually from the Bush Whisperer Shaman. That's how I freaking know you. I haven't done anything with Logan yet. Well, not on the Greyhorn Pagans channel, not one-on-one. That is, I have participated in a ritual with him on his channel, which was incredibly interesting, to say the least. You can find everything and anything Greyhorn Pagans, our books, blogs, vlogs, whatever it may be, on our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Go check it out. Go check out the tribe. Join the tribe if you feel called to do so. Guys, gals, Logan, it's been amazing. It's been awesome. And just good doing a show again. I missed doing this. I've been way too fucking busy. So so thank you all. I know I keep saying it, but thank you all. It's been awesome. I am going to end the stream, spend some time with my wife, with the wifey, and then go to bed because I have to be up again early tomorrow. So for everyone watching, for everyone participating, I wish you all a good night. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And yeah, until next time. See ya.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Later.